Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vanguard Uplink podcast. My name is CCP Gortz, your host. Joining me, as is per conditions of his parole, is once again CCP Collins.
Hello.
Hello. And we're joined by a new face this week. That's you.
That's me.
Hello,
Okay.
new face. Who are you?
Hello, I'm CCP VIPEX, and I'm the art director on EVE Vanguard.
Oh, we'll have lots of questions for you. Today we're going to talk about what we're up to in Q4. If you're watching this late, this is going out in November. The nights are drawing in. Mm-hmm. It's getting colder. You can't see, but Collins has got very furry boots all the way up to his thighs. It's blisteringly cold. Let's we'll have art questions, but it's always good to critique Collins's fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tradition. It's tradition. Right, boys. Nemesis is done long ago. A lot have happened since then. You and I went to Comic-Con since then.
We have been to Comic-Con since then.
We were on stage talking about Vanguard.
Yeah,
we were. Fun. Yeah, but that's all in the past. It's all in the past. Right, Nemesis is over. What did we learn?
We learned a lot. Nemesis was really successful for us in that it was very clear the feedback that we got in places. So one of the things that we really wanted to test was if we could have a clear call to action for those in EVE Online. We can come and play the game and feel the impact across the two games. So we wanted a really high number of returning players that had played the game before, but we also wanted to generate a lot of people from EVE Online that have never played Vanguard before. That was actually really successful. And if we look at, I'm going to say retention is the measure of how many people who turned up for the first day on, say, Tuesday, what percentage of them turned up on Wednesday. That's your day one retention. How many of them turned up the following Tuesday? That's like your day 7 retention. And these are used as metrics that your game is sticky. It's engaging, that people like to play your game and they want to stick around and they play it. For active EVE players, we had really good retention. We got in a large percentage of players that had never played Vanguard before, and they stuck around and they kept playing throughout the whole of the event, which is fantastic. Our day 1 retention was good, 3 days, 7 days, 10 days, all of the days were very good. One of the things that weren't so good for us was non-EVE players. This was something we wanted to do in the event as well, as to get in a statistically significant number of non-EVE players, people that have never played EVE before, into the game. We ran some advertising campaigns around the time to try and kind of drum up some interest and draw people to it. Funny enough, but I know we're not available on Steam right now. Even if you advertise and try to send them not to Steam to download the game, people will still go on Steam to try and find your game. We had a lot of people going on Steam to try and find the game. So something we'll certainly take advantage of next year. But those non-EVE players, there are some things we learned into how we went after them and how we advertised the game and how we spoke to those people and kind of how we did or didn't manage their expectations in certain places. But largely their retention wasn't as good as we wanted, and it wasn't as good as those that were coming over from EVE. So we poured over a lot of the data. We looked at hundreds and hundreds of survey responses that we'd had. We were watching a lot of streams, reading a lot of comments, looking at a lot of posts in our Discord, in Reddit, and in other places to basically try and build up a picture as to why these non-EVE players were basically leaving after the first tutorial. They were naturally leaving. They weren't getting stuck anywhere. They were just naturally leaving, which, drawing from my experience as a games analyst back in the days, you see this a lot in games where people are like, I think I've seen enough. This isn't really for me. I'll maybe come back later or not at all. So generally, a lot of the hypothesis on how we can improve that is really people didn't feel like a badass enough. People didn't feel, a lot of people did, and it, we got a lot of feedback on how we can improve that. But for the people that didn't stick around, they gave it a punt, and they didn't retain, they didn't play beyond that first tutorial. The game wasn't exciting enough for them. So one of the things we've been really drawing on internally is, how do we address that problem? How do we just distill down to making this more exciting? making us feel better. We are in pre-alpha. There's a lot in the game that is very placeholder, lots of placeholder geometry, right? And our NPCs, our enemies aren't really there yet, and our gunplay can still do some work. Players coming in for the first time with different expectations couldn't see past those problems. So really, when we're thinking about what we want to do next, which I know is another topic, I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
He is.
Is addressing a lot of those things, and we've got a very clear plan on how we're going to improve that and what that's going to mean. But I can talk about that when we get to that section if you'd like.
Oh, I would like that very much. It makes my editing so much easier. In terms of the world of art, capital A, art, you were amongst us all here reading the feedback, watching the streams. Did you pick up on the players liking any particular arty styles, characters, enemies, anything that stuck out for you?
Yeah, I think the main things that stick out for me are the things that players don't like, players want to improve, because obviously a big part of our job is to find that, and then, does that sort of align with what we're thinking internally, and that's sort of then how we go to plan on how to improve the new player journey experience as a whole. And we've got great feedback, and I love every bit of feedback that we get, positive and negative, because it really does help us sort of frame sort of like steps going forward. Some of the things which have really stuck out is obviously the placeholder NPCs and placeholder geometry in the world. And it's kind of funny, because what we've tried to do from the beginning is, because we're such a small team, anything that's sort of placeholdery or we're not quite sure about, we always put in the build for players to play, to then see if they like the experience. Cool, now we can sort of art it up. But obviously what we found, especially with the latest kind of playtest, is when people see block out, they sort of sometimes their reaction is, oh, it's too early in development, I'll come back another time. That's been really good information to get, because one of the things that we're really doing now to improve the new player journey experience is basically just remove all block out as much as possible and to art it up, and to get players sort of immersed in the experience as long as possible. Because obviously one of our jobs, it's not just to make the blockouts arted up and look good. We want the experience to feel good as well, and with that comes with trying to keep the players immersed in the experience as long as possible. So the moment players come across like block out, the immersion sort of goes. So we want to try and maintain that immersion as long as possible.
That was 3 times you used the phrase "art it up." I was going to do the inglorious 3 times. Is "art it up" a phrase that's used in your circle?
It's used in a lot of circles.
Okay.
Because it gets to a point where you have like the block out, and that's enough for the experience. And then it gets to like an arting up pass, and that is essentially maintaining the intention of design, but putting the art flavor on it, I guess.
I am going to start using that in everyday life wherever possible. That is my favorite thing of today.
Just start it up.
Just start it up. Yeah. So the feeling that I'm getting from both of you is player feedback was huge for Nemesis.
Yeah, massively.
I did a little shiver there.
Yeah. No, I'm calling back to the reams and reams of feedback that we've gone through. I think it's been really helpful as well. I think we talked about when we started the event how there were some secret designers in the community that were giving us really good and constructive feedback, and that carried on throughout the event. And when we want to know, when we see a metric, okay, that metric's not looking as good as we hoped, it's not hitting our targets. Why is that? Getting such constructive feedback that can help identify the why, because the data can only tell you what people are doing and potentially how they're doing it. Why they're doing it can only really be inferred, and you need a lot of what you call qualitative data, feedback responses, people putting in posts, people running criticisms, and even in videos and stuff like that, or even talking about what they want to see in the game. You use that to paint a picture to help infer. That's why we've been able to infer. Why did some of these non-EVE players come into the game? Why did we not leave a lasting impression on them? And why did they not continue playing the game? And I think the player feedback is the thing that's answering that question for us.
Yeah. And so you must have similarly seen like the Chonker was a thing that came from the Nemesis art. Like people were going into this game going, I want to be a girl in a big beefy armor suit, and you're like, right, time to time to redesign what the Vanguard looks like, or these will be going into the next build? I better get my art it up pencils out.
Yeah, I think we've been doing a lot of exploring sort of behind the background on what sort of the visual identity can be and how that kind of comes through characters, weapons, those sorts of things. So a lot of things we've been talking about recently is having this idea of having, you're not just like one Vanguard, that's one frame. There's small, medium, and sort of heavy frames, and even larger than that potentially in the future.
Wait, we should have done this in a line.
Yeah.
Small, medium, heavy.
It's the first time I've been called small. Well, no, not height-wise. I'm 5'7", that is small.
We're keeping it in.
Yeah.
Did you say you're 5'7"?
I'm 5'7", yeah. Why do I look smaller?
It's the false perspective.
Do I have 5'5" energy? Yeah.
That is the title of the podcast, this episode. Sorry, I feel we got swayed. That was my bad. So we're looking at different types of Vanguard.
Yeah, so we're looking at different types of Vanguard and what does the frames mean from like what do you do as a Vanguard and how that can change. But also it was just great just to get the feedback and people loving was it the Chonker as it's now called, and it's great. So I think it's something we always want to work towards eventually getting in the game. But I think at the moment it's kind of really looking at who you are as the medium Vanguard, getting that right, and then we can sort of look at the different frames and then what that means for changing up the player experience.
And if you're watching this, CCPJS, we are going to try and make Chonker official lore. So we're coming for you. We're going to make this a thing. So as we said, Nemesis is done. We're reading a lot of feedback. I know what I'm doing. What are you two doing right now as Nemesis goes offline? We've got this little period. What's going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, we've kind of branded this the quarter. So these next couple of months, we've branded it as Nemesis 1.1. This won't necessarily be a public release. At least we're not planning to do it. But we looked at a lot of the feedback, and like I said, when we earlier, I'm teeing myself up to have this conversation. When we hypothesized and looked at all the feedback as to why people were leaving, we kind of drew it down into the presence of placeholder stuff is something we want to tackle. So we're going through some of the early parts of the experience and tidying it up so it leaves a better first impression. But the crux of it is how we want the player to feel. You are this Vanguard soldier, right? You are this mercenary. You are ruthless. You are brutal. You are inflicting terror on the universe. People are scared of you. You are the boogeyman of the EVE Online universe. And your actions should feel like that. You should feel like you're tearing through your enemy, that you are through a premeditated brutality. You are moving through this world to achieve your goals. The game doesn't really feel like that right now. Right. And there are certain parts that are landing quite generic, and there are certain parts that just aren't landing at all. So whilst we got a lot of positive feedback and we showed that a lot of the systems and gameplay that we have in place is keeping people engaged, we don't feel that you feel like the Vanguard right now. The game is not meeting the immediate fantasy that we want to sell you as a player. So what we're doing right now is building closer towards that fantasy. We're taking a microcosm of that first tutorial. We're improving some of the assets, improving some of the tone and some of the visuals. But we're also improving the gameplay, how it feels, what the weapon feels like in your hand, giving you the shotgun in that early tutorial as well, how the enemies respond to you. Right now, they're a bit robotic, they're a bit stiff. We need them to feel like they are military operatives that you are fighting against. And so we're making animation improvements. We're making improvements to how they look, how they behave, how they take up formation, how they seek cover, how they move from cover to cover, how they engage you, how they respond to being shot at. They are human beings. They should fear for their life. And we want basically to just prove internally, and I think we want to play this with our VIPs next year as well, is make a small little slice of that first tutorial of all the improvements that we've made. And we just want people to feel like they're a badass. And if people can play that and go, I feel like I'm a badass, we've already proved a lot of the reasons we think players weren't sticking around, which is they didn't feel like they had a clear identity, and the player fantasy of being this boogeyman in this universe wasn't being met. So you're asking me what I'm doing now?
I am.
Reviewing a lot of that, reviewing animations, reviewing weapon improvements. Just got out of a meeting today about how we can have a pod drop down and you can collect the shotgun from it, and then enemies will spawn around you, and now you've got the shotgun, you're shooting them, and it just feels much tighter, feels more exciting. Having more ships fly over you, just increasing that sense of drama and excitement. That is what we're doing over the next 2 months, and then we're going to play it to heck internally, and we're going to also play it with our VOPs, because we want to validate those assumptions.
I'll come back to that point. That point. So obviously, with what Colin says there, you're sketching in more spikes, bigger teeth, more muscles.
Yeah, so we're going a little bit back to the drawing board with the Vanguard character.
The literal drawing board.
Literal drawing board. Because like Collins was saying, like we really want something that feels like you are, the boogeyman, you're the badass, and that does start with you and who you play as. So that's something we want to get right. But the other thing that we're doing is like we're just looking at the whole new player journey experience and really, kind of being self-critical and being like, does this feel like a fresh crash site? Do you feel immersed in the environment? What things can we do that just makes you feel a bit more, in the situation of being next to a fresh crash site, going through like the different areas and seeing Upworld and Mordu's Legion for the first time, and how can we sort of up that tension and anxiety as you go through the experience? So a lot of things we're doing is a lot to do with lighting and tone, but also there's obviously the arting up the blockouts to make it feel more more immersive, I guess, especially when it comes to the Upwell section, where we want that area to feel like Upwell have just landed. We don't want it to feel like it's a base that's been there for years. This is an event that has just happened, and you're there. You're at the party. You haven't turned up, and there's like balloons on the floor, and you want to feel like you're part of the party as opposed to turning up late. I guess that's like the main theme, I would say.
That's an amazing analogy. I also like the way that you both say badass, because one of my pet peeves is British people saying bad arse. It just sounds so long.
I can say badass. Oh, it doesn't sound.
It doesn't. It's like British people using ain't. It just grinds my.
It ain't badass.
He's taking that too far, right? But
there is more.
Right.
There is more, because I can hear you. But I completed the NP. Oh, brilliant. They're just working on the new player journey. I completed the new player journey. I got past the game and I enjoyed it. What are you working on for me right now? Well, we are. So alongside all of this, one of the things that continues to kind of, I'll be honest, aggravate us is we still are being painted as just an extraction shooter. We are not just an extraction shooter, whilst some of the core experiences in the game right now call to a lot of extraction shooters. We are on a path out of that. We are making an MMO here. We're making a kind of game of games, so to speak. So one of the things that we need to do before next year is we need more modes in the game. So there are 2 prototype modes that we're working on at the moment that we plan to extensively playtest with our VIPs. You heard it here. And I'm sure we'll double down on that in a follow-up question about what are we doing with our VIP.
Well, I was going to say, do you feel comfortable giving a date for that yet, or should we come back to that?
So this quarter, so by Christmas, so maybe early next year, we will have 2 prototype game modes that we're working on that we plan on polishing out through the first half of next year. One of them is a PVE operation. So this is you and your squad dropping down to a level. It is just you versus AI in that world, and there will be a narrative. There are goals that you have to complete before you extract. It's a bit like a kind of a special forces mission that we're making. We're also making a 3v3 PvP mode. So inspired a little bit by Trials of Osiris from Destiny. This is 2 squads jumping into a small map and completing over round-based combat. And I think we're going to start with just Team Deathmatch. It's single life at the moment, so it could be you can see some amazing 1v3 plays maybe, but we want to make just a tighter structured PvP mode that we can do. We saw a lot of people play Insurgency, the 9v9 mode, and there are some ways that we definitely want to improve that, bring that more into the fold, but we want to kind of rethink how we're doing PvP as a whole. Insurgency in the 9v9 will certainly be a part of that, but that isn't our only way to do PvP in the game. We want kind of small scale PvP that we can do as well, these kind of gladiatorial squad-based combat. That's quite easy for us to prototype and put together and test. So we're working on that as well. So by the end of this year, we'll have 2 new modes that we can start testing. One that's PvE based, because we got a lot of feedback for more PvE content in the game. And it's generally the trend that the industry's going as well. A recent industry report, God, I'm getting into some boring stuff.
We're going deep.
We're going deep. A recent industry report on gaming in Steam showed a 12% increase year on year on players of Steam wanting and seeking out PvE experiences. And we hear that. We see that because we've gotten so much feedback on people wanting more structured PvE content. And we want people who want more structured PvP content. So we're making 2 modes as a prototype to kind of flesh that out that we can build from and test.
I mean, you guys are exceptionally busy over these coming months. I am sitting here as Collins is talking and noticing as he's very passionate when he's pontificating, he does this. And I'm just thinking, when I edit this podcast together, do I put piano sounds in?
So I'm only doing that because the mic is here. If the mic wasn't here, I'd be holding an invisible lemon. Melon. Not a lemon's too small. A lemon would be like this. No, I like newsreader.
Oh.
What is it? It was you've got the politician's point and the Newsnight shuffle.
You learn everything here on this podcast. Yeah. Like this, what perfect reason to come back than
but
these
the
random
newsreader,
factoids.
The newsreader's melon is a thing. It's like you see a lot of newsreaders. If they're not shuffling papers, they're holding invisible melons.
If you're a newsreader,
the fruit, by the way.
If you're a newsreader watching this podcast to get your Vanguard fix, right below in the comments. Gentlemen, I feel our time has come to an end. We're talking about fruit.
Yes.
Which has got us way off topic. So I'm going to let you get back to work. Mm-hmm. Thank you both very much for joining us. As we have said, the best way that you can shape Vanguard is being part of our community, which I'm assuming you are already. If not, dive into the Discord, apply to become a VIP, and you too can be playing with these Jezebels.
We're hoping early next year we'll have that Nemesis 1.1 that we've been talking about, and those 2 new modes. We're going to be playing those with our VIPs. So if you can't wait to play Vanguard, join the VIP program and jump into the playtest with us.
And also on Discord, I've got my own AMA art director channel as well. So if anyone wants to ask anything about art on Vanguard, just jump in there and I kind of look at that daily. So
kids, I am going to reap that royally to start getting some social assets. So that's what I'll be doing, aside from the piano sounds. Should we all do that in sync? Should we do it together? There we go. Now the onus is on me to actually do something. Will I do it? Find out next time on the Vanguard Uplink podcast. Until then, thank you very much for joining us. See you next time.